Okay, we got the great news a couple weeks ago about the Paycheck Protection Program Flexibility Act. And guess what? You can finally apply for forgiveness. I got those details coming up. This is your next Wise Step video for today. My name is Mike Bernard. I am the host of the Wise Money Show. I'm also one of the certified financial planners right here at Korhorn Financial Group. If you're new to this channel, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash that thumbs up button. This one's flying a little bit under the radar. So the Paycheck Protection Program, just a quick recap, big part of the CARES Act. Between the CARES Act Part 1 and then the extension to the PPP, over $600 billion of loans made available to small businesses. And the big part is it's not just loans, it's a forgivable loan. There are forgivable features in here if you use the money and you keep your head count the same for employees and you use the money for salaries and a little bit for mortgage and utilities. So there's stipulations in there, but it's all designed to help small businesses get through this challenging time and keep their employees working and not on unemployment. So very big deal. This forgivable feature was critically important. But as I've shared with you before, when Congress came out with the program in the CARES Act, they said, hey, here's the high-level details. Small Business Administration, you figure out all the nuts and bolts. And when the SBA did figure out those nuts and bolts, Congress was sort of scratching their head saying, wait a second, this is too limiting, too restricting, this is too difficult. And they created the PPP Flexibility Act that was passed, a week and a half ago or something. We talked about it right here. And they basically said the forgiveness period, instead of being over 8 weeks, can now be over 24 weeks. That's a big deal. And for many small businesses, I mean, for the vast majority, this should mean 100% of your loan is forgivable. That's awesome news. It was passed, signed, and so, a big sigh of relief for many small businesses. But you haven't been able to do anything about it. And this is flying completely under the radar screen. What I've seen in the media outlets is they're still talking about how difficult the program has been, how confusing it's been, how they keep changing the rules, and so on. But guys, you haven't been able to apply for the forgiveness yet because the actual Small Business Administration didn't come out with an updated application to reflect the new rules from the Flexibility Act. I'm showing it to you right now. Great news is just yesterday, or really late on Tuesday, the Small Business Administration released 2 applications with the updates in it from the PPP Flexibility Act. This is great news. There was a part of me that wondered if the Small Business Administration was going to continue to take some more liberties here and come up with an application that was possibly more restricting than what Congress was actually proposing in the Flexibility Act. But they didn't, at least from what I can tell. So that is great news. You can now find, we're going to link it below, if you are a small business owner or you help run one or you work at one and you know that you guys have received PPP dollars and you're now looking to apply for the forgiveness, find those applications at the SBA website. One thing I want to point out, I was talking to a friend of mine earlier this week who's a sole proprietor, self-employed, and we were talking about, well, the original application before the Flexibility Act came out, the original application really was quite thorough and really wasn't tailored for a sole proprietor with no employees. There's supposed to be automatic forgiveness for a certain amount of months of your net profit, your average net profit. And the great news is, as you can see here, that there is an easy application released for PPP forgiveness that is designed for folks, for individuals that are sole proprietors with no employees. This is great news and makes a ton of sense. So, if you own a small business, run a small business, or work at a small business, your action item is to now take your next steps towards applying for loan forgiveness. If you didn't get the PPP in round 1 and you got it in round 2, then you're likely you haven't had it long enough to actually apply yet. But check out that application, see what questions you're going to have, see what documentation you need, work with your CPA, work with your SBA approved lender to make sure you get all of your questions answered. Jared Moxness in our office believes that there will be additional guidance coming out by the SBA tomorrow. My assumption is some FAQs on how to fill out the applications, but we'll see. So keep a lookout for that. But check out the application, start looking through it, making sure that you've got everything you need, and address any questions as you have them. Second, if you're a sole proprietor and you've been wondering how in the world am I going to fill out this application, doesn't really apply to me, check out that EZ application. Make sure you don't have any questions. There shouldn't be much documentation that you need. It should really just be your Schedule C from last year and then filling out the application. But go through it, make sure you don't have any questions, and you should be able to apply for this automatic forgiveness very, very quickly. And then finally, for those of you that are listening to me saying, I don't really understand about PPP, or I actually think this is more applicable. If you own a small business, you run a small business, and you said, I don't really trust the SBA. I've actually talked to a lot of people who have said, you don't really want to mess with them. There's a lot of scrutiny, there's rule changes, and it's too much headache. If that's been you, I think a lot of those headaches have been resolved. I really do. Maybe I'm an optimist. Call me an optimist. But I think a lot of those headaches have been removed. Most of the questions have been answered. We now have the Flexibility Act. We now have the applications. It's now clear. I didn't check it before I turned the video on, but I think there's still a good chunk of money still available for borrowing. So I would check it out. If you have been skeptical of the PPP thus far, I would check it out and submit your application very quickly. So there you have it. Make sure you're talking to your CPA, probably your accountant, and your CFP, because if you've gotten PPP dollars, you got to figure out how is this taxed, or what does this mean for your deductions, and so that you're completely prepared and you get as much forgiveness as possible. So contact your CPA, contact your CFP. If you don't have either one of those, or more importantly, they're not talking to each other, contact our team at Korhorn Financial Group. You'll find us online, korhorn.com, or give us a call, 574-247-5898. All right, you're ready. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.